Like the call to order the meeting, this meeting of the Madison Public Schools Board of Education. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's all doctors owners. Okay, so first item on the agenda is the school/community session where we have public participation. Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to speak? And if so, we have kind of a little instructional spiel beforehand. Anyone online? No? Okay. Next, we have our Board of Education and Student Representatives report, and I believe we're gonna have one.
We were expecting Grace tonight. Brooke had her senior night for gymnastics, and we'll recognize her next time. I guess she won pretty much every event in the tournament recently, so she's had. Yes, thank you. So she's had a great season. So we'll recognize her next time. I had some recognitions for Grace too, but
I think she had a time thing, maybe.
no, I think maybe just got. Here she is.
I apologize.
You're not in a cartwheel?
Sorry about
No,
that.
it was Brooke.
Oh, Brooke is our,
Brooke
Brooke is our cartwheel.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But Grace is president of Make-A-Wish at Daniel Hand, and I know she doesn't often talk about things she does, but maybe she can include that in her update.
Yeah,
Not put you on
sorry.
the spot too much.
No problem. So actually, Brooke can't make it today because it's her senior night for gymnastics. But they recently won the SEC championship and Brooke got lots of recognition for her abilities. So we're really proud of her and wishing her the best of luck tonight. But and then on to Make-A-Wish. So I started that club my sophomore year and I've been with the Make-A-Wish Foundation for the past 5 years. I honestly started my involvement from a commercial on YouTube and I saw kids my age and I was really inspired. So the Connecticut chapter has been incredible. We donated $3,000 last year based off of little fundraisers, donut sales, muffin sales, and especially Raffles for Wishes. And Raffles for Wishes is a nonprofit I started last year alongside the Make-A-Wish Club. And we run virtual raffles and the winning athlete becomes an honorary member of varsity sports teams for a special game. So we've had majority of our varsity sports teams participate and it's been super special. We've got a lot of positive feedback from the families, from the coaches, and it really has brought the Madison community together. And we've expanded Raffles for Wishes into 5 communities now, and we're on track for around $7,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation this year. So we're really excited. And our most recent event was with the Daniel Hand gymnastics team, and I got the nicest email from the mom, and she's donating an extra $250. So it's been really incredible, but it's definitely thanks to the coaches, our athletic director, and administration in general. So that's a little aside. Thank you. So we actually have a really busy schedule of things to discuss. The first was that we did course registration at the end of January. It's a little crazy that I was submitting my senior year classes, but that went pretty well. Everybody got to meet with their guidance counselors to make sure they're on track for graduation and requirements. So we got to fill that out and then put it in Infinite Campus. And then last week was a career fair for the junior class. I thought that was the coolest experience. We had people from all different job fields. We had doctors, lawyers, people on the front lines, people in marketing, which I know is really popular, people down at the senior center, most of which were in Madison, but the people were so interested and engaged. So I got really positive feedback from that. And also a lot of internship opportunities came about, which is always really nice. And there was a lot of connecting with different people in Madison. I got asked to play the piano at the senior center, and my friend's gonna play the viola, and I got to meet with John Michael Parker and kind of learn about what he does. So really cool experiences. I know they covered a lot of different areas that people may be interested in, and it's nice to kind of get a gauge of what people are interested in going into. And then there was a band concert on the February 20th coming up, so I think people are preparing for that. Hopefully we have a nice turnout because we've kind of been struggling with our music attendance. And then the reason why I was unfortunately late today is there's a Madison student who was recently diagnosed with leukemia, and he was at Yale Hospital receiving treatment. He's now in Philadelphia, but he's so kind and he is doing a bake sale to raise money to purchase Legos for the Yale New Haven. They have a toy shop. So I run the Make-A-Wish Club and we're trying to collect some Legos to donate. They have to be under 300 pieces, but it's really cool that he's pulling that together.
That's on Facebook.
Yes,
too.
it's been on
Right.
social media and I think it's been really successful so far. So that's really exciting and generous of him to give back. And then the Clay Club at Daniel Hand is participating in the Super Bowl. That's also on social media, but different people are creating 10-gallon things of soup, Mr. Sanitary said. And the Clay Club created over 300 bowls, like handmade clay bowls that people can purchase and then get their soup out of. So that's a nice intersection. And then one of my friend runs Plates for Progress, which is another club at Daniel Hand, and they have a lot of volunteers helping out at the Super Bowl, and they're gonna collect cans for a New Haven food shelter. And then the last thing was just raffles for wishes, and that has been really successful this winter. We had the gymnastics raffle, we had the girls hockey raffle, which is interesting because it's a co-op, but the team was great. The girl got to be announced with the starting lineup. She got her stick signed. She got to wear a varsity jersey. And then we have basketball and boys hockey coming up this week. So that's all that's on my agenda tonight.
Can I ask Grace, I believe that the students switched, and the high school switched from Naviance to a different program this year.
Yeah.
But can you tell us how that's going and how you like it? Do you like it better?
Yeah, so I've been on Naviance since like middle school. Like I really like that platform. I think my favorite feature was honestly like the resume. You can just plug in things, but it was very difficult to navigate. And I was having trouble seeing like colleges and comparing it to Hand students. So I think that the switch to School Links has been really positive. I know I go on it quite often, but my classmates do as well. And Ms. Coyle has done a really good job introducing School Links. And it's really easy to compare your stats to somebody who recently got in from Hand, or just learn more about the college, the location, their most popular majors. It's very similar to the website Niche, I think, but School Links is more customized to Madison. So that makes it really nice because you can kind of get a sense of how you compare to Hand students that were either accepted or rejected. So I think it's a lot easier to navigate than Naviance, and I think it's a lot more used.
Thank you. It's good to hear. Anyone else have any questions for Grace?
Great, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck with that fundraiser.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, feel free to leave whenever you feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Cook.
Yes, so it's Polson night tonight at the board meeting, so I'm gonna ask Catherine Hart and Martha Curran to come forward, and we're gonna start with a student recognition. And so chances are, if you've been to Polson, you've met this student. You can't really get too far at Polson without our greeting you or asking you some questions. We had a superintendent visit today, which I'll talk a little bit about later, but I know some of my superintendent colleagues had the pleasure of meeting our student that's going to be recognized today. So Catherine, I'll let you take it.
Great. Arjun, do you want to come up? The next one too. So Arjun is a sixth grader at Paulson, and he's already made a strong impression in just a few short months. He was recently recognized as a Scholastic news reporter and shows incredible curiosity, dedication, and a passion for journalism. I had to interview him to find out what it actually took for him to be selected in this role. In the fall, he interviewed Jeff Kinney, who is author of the series of The Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And he presented his new book to a full house at Paulson. And Arjun had the backstage in the band room to be able to interview him, ask him some questions about what inspired him to write the book, and really offered some valuable insight for kids across the nation. And he shared the advice that he got from the author for his journey and what he had accomplished so far and how he got to this place in his life. So more recently, Arjun has recognized and reported on some of the fundraisers at Paulson that have been created by students, such as the Hats for Hope and clubs that we've had doing the Blizzard for Giving. So he highlights their passion, compassion, and how they have supported causes close to our hearts. So reporting on these events not only have highlighted the importance of giving back, but Arjun has also showcased how our community comes together to make a difference. Through all of these experiences, Arjun continues to grow as a writer, but not just a writer, or also as a storyteller, bringing important news and events to life for others. So the quote on the bottom of his autobiography on the Scholastic website really resonates with me, and he has a powerful message for all students. And it says, "You can do things that you never thought possible as long as you work hard." So Arjun, we know you're working hard and that you continue to do so. We're so proud of everything you've accomplished so far, and we look forward to many more articles in the future.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
So we have a little certificate for you, Arjun. And I did read one of the articles that was in one of the newsletters recently, and I found it to be quite awesome. So, but I don't know if anyone else wants. Congratulations. Here you go. I'm going to stand between you and Craig here. And get a picture for the family.
Thank you. Yeah, get up, step in. Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, would you like to take a picture with us too? Yeah.
It's a family event.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Where's Taylor? Okay. There we go.
Thank you.
It's Paulson Night, so we'll continue that recognition. We have a staff recognition, a very rare one, and so we're thrilled to have Lauren Danner come forward with her family tonight and recognize her for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science teaching. Only 110 educators from across the country received this prestigious award, and so although Lauren received the award prior to being hired in Madison, she received it for her work in 2021. It was just recognized recently, and it's a major celebration for us because not only was Lauren recognized with this prestigious award, but Mrs. Hart and Mrs. Curran were smart enough to hire Lauren over the summer to join us. And we also want to congratulate them as well on a tremendous hire. So turn it over to you, Catherine.
Thank you very much. So as Dr. Cook just said, this is Lauren Danner. She's a science teacher for us on 8-1. And shout out also to Kate Patler, who's also a science teacher on 8-2. So we have 2 new science teachers in the same grade this year that are fondly dubbed the dynamic duo. They do everything together, from planning to prepping to making all the labs, and really bring science to life for their kids. So in the short time that we have known Mrs. Danner, she has impressed us in so many ways. Instruction is dynamic and immersive. Assessment is engaging and supportive. But what sets her apart is her work with students. Every day, she demonstrates unparalleled excitement and unmatched energy in the classroom. Every day, she motivates students to levels of enthusiasm that matches her own. Every day, she motivates students and to bring them to a whole new level. And students know that she genuinely likes them and they like her back. Mrs. Dana is a science enthusiast, and that's what makes me want to be one too. And that's a quote from one of your students. So when visiting Mrs. Dana's classroom, it might actually appear that she's not doing much, that the students are doing the work. And that's because they are. Lauren's work starts well before the start of the school day. And she is planning, she puts so much time and effort into the planning process, so that when she's in the classroom, it is the students that are doing the work. They're doing the thinking. They're asking each other questions. They know the expectations. And Lauren is there on the side to really facilitate and to go over. And when she will ask them, or they'll ask her a question, she'll be literally say, "That's really interesting. What do you think?" And takes their thinking to a whole new level. So I think the design of the meaningful lessons for her students to figure out the world around them, to make connections, to grow their own thinking is evident not just one day, but every day in Lauren's classroom. So this is amazing honor for Mrs. Dana, for Paulson, but also for the entire Madison Public Schools District. Congratulations, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. You guys can come up too. Come on.
Mom says no.
Family want to join?
Come on.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
You guys. Thank you so much.
Last item I had for my report, I just wanted to share quickly with the board, and ironically, Arjun and Ms. Tanner were part of this. We had the superintendent network come to visit Holston today. So originally it was supposed to be April 1, and I missed the meeting with the superintendent network. So they moved me up, as usually happens when you miss a meeting, something happens. So I called Ms. Hart about 2 weeks ago and said, "Oh, it's not April 1, it's February 11th." And she's like, "Okay, let me talk to you tomorrow." And so tomorrow she came back. The next day she came back and said she was very excited to host the superintendent network. And what that is superintendents from around the state come and visit a school and look at a problem of practice. And one of the things that we looked at, the major thing that we looked at, was how the profile of a graduate is put into place at the middle school through curriculum, through student work, and through the curriculum. And I was very proud of the work that we saw today, and the superintendents had great feedback for us. And so we gave some feedback to Martha and Catherine, and it was very well received. And I think they were very impressed with how it really is come to life at our schools. It's not just something that we put on the wall. So thank you to Gail Dowling-Hedge, who was part of the visit and helped prep for the visit, of course. And a big part of her work has been implementing that. And so it's really a great day and busy day for Polson in the last few weeks as well. So thank you to everybody. That concludes my report.
Thank you. So before you guys leave from Polson, I have one more thing. It's now board members' comments, and I just want to start by thanking Polson and your staff and your students for recently there was a lesson in your history class, 7th grade history, where they were using virtual reality goggles and watching a tour on an important history subject. And it sounded really interesting to me, so I inquired, and Catherine invited Dr. Cook and I to come and sit in on one of the classes, and it was the most amazing thing. And it was, I want to cook my thoughts on this more and go to the curriculum committee with it, discuss it more, and then bring it back to a future meeting. But just very quickly, we don't buy like 1 million sets of goggles for all the kids. We had like 5 or 6 sets. It's a small group instruction. It's a pullout, which also, in my opinion, is good because it helps to diminish the stigma that sometimes happens with pullouts, either for additional help or for enrichment. So, kids get pulled out for all different reasons, so nobody suspects anything's weird about it. Like when I was a kid and everybody's like, oh, he's getting pulled out he must need extra help. So I think it reinforces that. It gives the students agency. They participate in the lesson, and the student and it's combined with discussion afterwards in that small group. And I think that discussion really facilitates pulling each kid in, even though you can tell some students may be a little more reticent than others. But they all participated, and they all had very interesting and different perspectives on what they experienced through their visual and physical experience, and it was amazing. So kudos to your staff, to the school, and I would encourage more of this to go on. Thank you. Thanks for letting us.
Thank you.
One last comment I have is happy birthday to Emily, as is our tradition. She's gonna skip around the room. Oh. Breaking with tradition.
No.
So that's it for me. Anybody else have board member comments? Okay, thank you. Moving on to audience response to information presented. Anyone online? No, anybody in this audience want to say anything? No? Okay. Moving on to item 7, consent agenda. And by the way, those of you who came here to celebrate, feel free to, you don't have to sit here for the morning stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. Congratulations. Congratulations. Great.
Thank you.
So moving on to the consent agenda, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Emily, do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? 7, 8. Okay, motion carries 8-0. Okay. Now we move on to our board committee and liaison updates. And the first one, as is usual, is curriculum and student development, which met this evening. Stephen.
Thank you. Yes, we met this evening and it was a very stimulating and exciting meeting tonight, and really fell outside what we normally see in our curriculum meetings, because it wasn't actually curriculum, although it was very much around student development, and it is not a Madison Public School as such activity. And what it was is the Madison Community Pre-K Consortium. I will go into some of the details of what was discussed, but I will say, there's a background story, the other members of the committee and said, highlighted throughout that, also speaks. For example, this is a whole initiative that is now 2 years old, that has been initiated primarily by 2 of our educators, teachers, at the first grade
And coach.
Yeah. And basically it was their passion and excitement that they were nurtured and supported in. And the idea was what if we could reach out to other non-public agencies within the community that are providing pre-K programs and just begin a discussion about common ideas, standards, and so forth. And so they were given the okay to go ahead and do that. And so they brought energy to it and set up an initial meeting that pulled in about 10 different agencies that exist within Madison that provide support in pre-K activities. A true public-private initiative. And the focus of it really was growth and professional development and learning from each other and sharing possibilities. There was discussion of common standards for early learning. There were in the course of the year 4 sessions that were held that lasted 2.5 to 3 hours. There was the development based on some funding that was made available through the town offices and ARPA funds for what they call Saturday Spark workshops where teachers got together. The sparks comes from sharing passion to amplify results for kids. And that was from a $2,000 grant that supported that. Really, some of the comments from our committee members, it really puts Madison ahead of the curve in terms of exploring what is coming to Madison and every other district in the state, which is the need and the requirement to do pre-K. As far as we know, there is nothing currently going on that would match this. Some of Kathy's comments, that I thought were very important was, the power of the coaching model and teachers supporting each other and coaching and developing their professional practice. I sat aside from being excited by, the energy that came from that. I sat and I said, this, and we've discussed this so many times in curriculum and in board meetings. This is one of the artifacts that comes when you build a district that nurtures and supports and respects teachers and gives them the latitude to really explore and build not only their curriculum, but their passion and mission for the work. These folks aren't getting paid for this, and they put in all this time. It was, it's really remarkable presentation, and and I invite others, because I'm not doing it justice, to add their comments in terms of what was presented.
Yeah, it was definitely so nice to see such a nice through line from the work that happens in beyond pre-K and in classrooms with coaches and with teachers. And then not only that, but just the fact that this work, that this consortium work, it happens at night, in the evenings, and on weekends. Teachers are coming together to share and to kind of cross-pollinate in service of kids. And I think, it would be easy for town pre-Ks to compete. They're competing for, they're, in many cases, they are a business. And so it's easy to say, like, why would we share ideas? We want to be the best. And this whole consortium is really with the spirit of sharing, with very pre-K type of early learning values that we're teaching our littlest littles, and so to be, modeling that and creating this amazing group of teachers who are just wanting to lift the level of their practice. It's just inspiring to see. And again, it goes right back to those children who will be in the seats of our school and the seats of other schools, they're community members, and that's what it's at the bigger picture. And I think it's very unique. This is such a unique approach to supporting teachers and supporting families, because it really does trickle down to that and how we can support families in you know, raising their children, and it's just such an investment in our community, and it's such a testament to what happens within this district, and I'm just so proud to listen to that presentation. It was amazing.
You know, we've been celebrating, you know, particularly over the last year, you know, the accomplishments of our schools, you know, through along the line and up through the high school, you know, to see this and go, okay, now we're extending that and moving it down the pike in terms of developing that. You know, they took an opportunity to set up a table at the Career Expo, and the directors and the people who are heading these private, you know, pre-K programs during the workday came to the expo to try and nurture and cultivate interest in early learning, you know, for our high school students. I mean, the whole thing was really, you know, very, very impressive and very very teacher directed, teacher sensitive. You know, it was a great presentation. Any questions?
I have one, I meant to ask him, so how did it come to be? In other words, how did this come to be? I forgot.
So
to
it's on
ask.
my
Gail's like,
to-do list.
Okay,
yeah,
I just
yeah,
wondered how
Gail's-
it came to be. Yeah.
Things that you know, are very impactful to our students, and things that we haven't been purposeful about cultivating, so you
So
know,
it came to be. Your dad's.
with people who were joining and passionate and like I think Drew said a million times, mission driven. It's all
Yeah.
mission driven. Okay, so it's
So it was out here.
my son. That's the person.
But it was also,
And she
what was
brought the
also,
dots with her,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's all good.
what was also interesting in the presentation was learning that the preschool directors and teachers had a real interest and a mission of their own to try and prepare their students for entering Madison Public Schools. So that, you know, they were excited about their agency in
Just
that.
what Kathy said, that they were
Yeah.
all about
Right.
what their teaching,
And-
what their program was.
Yeah, and,
That it needed to be all together.
yeah,
Educators hold a common thread, and that's just to be always learning and growing and at the top of their game. So doesn't matter what level, they share that.
But I also want to mention that I think, Gail, you're often so very humble about the influence you've had on your teachers, your staff, you always, and I jotted it down during the meeting, you always lift up over yourself your teachers and your faculty and it's inspiring to see that you care so much, because you know that it really is in service of kids. And oftentimes, as you know, as you get into positions like yours and Dr. Cook, you get into a place where the people say you're further removed, but you're both. I mean, Dr. Cook had attended one of these meetings as well, and but the humble way that you both kind of really allow and inspire your teachers to do these things and not ever let them feel like they can't do that. It's not typical. And I can say that from experience, that empowering your people, it really is great to see. And we are so lucky to have you and Dr. Cook to lead us in that way. You often sit back and let teachers shine, but it's because you let them shine that they do. So. Very well.
Parents. Several of the meetings we've had said, you know, they moved to Madison because of the schools. Well, with this kind of development, look out.
That's right.
Barring any other questions, end of report.
thank you. Okay, facilities committee, Emily.
No report.
Okay, me, finance committee, Galen.
We have no report, but I believe tomorrow night there's a presentation with the Board of
Yes.
Selectmen and Board of Finance.
Correct, the board presents its budget to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, everybody is welcome, not required attendance certainly, but we'll present, we'll share the PowerPoint with you after the meeting's over and answer any questions that we receive. Typically, it's not a very lengthy presentation, they have a annual town meeting afterwards as well.
Thank you. Personnel committee, Maureen.
Hello, the personnel committee has not met, but we have a meeting later this month to start our negotiations with things.
Thank you. Policy committee, Diane.
There is no report. We will meet on February 20th.
Thank you. Learn liaison, Mary Ann.
We have a meeting on Thursday, but I did ask Dr. if he could just give me a little list of exactly how he uses Learn, because it's a learning experience with Learn. So he said, he's got a list of 7, and he said there's probably a lot more. And he said I know they have the superintendent meeting that provide opportunities to collaborate in programming and share new ideas, which is great, and we share challenges and discuss school district budgeting. Another way is technology and curriculum. They have similar groups of that too, where they talk about, I don't know, do you attend that? Yeah, and Gail goes to that too. They utilize the support for professional learning for staff. They will and may need to utilize Learn to support in open positions and hiring. They meet together and talk about the new state mandates. And they talk about purchasing agreements and supports within the districts. And then also special education supports and trainings. So it's actually, they utilize it a lot, which, I don't see because I go with the other board members, so it's good to know.
Yeah, it's one of the RESCs that are regional education service centers, I think it's called.
Right.
And they're like a clearinghouse for helping the regions, districts to.
Right, but they also take care of all the magnet schools.
Yeah.
Individual, that's part of what they have to do as a rest, so.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Thank you. Good report. Any questions for Mary Ann? Okay. All right, so now we move on to action items. Actually, Craig, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
All right. I think Craig is departing for another program he needs to be at, and Gail's gonna be taking the first seat.
We're gonna come up with lots of things again.
Oh, God, yeah. You're almost look who's back. It's like, no.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to action items. I need a motion to adopt the following curriculum units that we went over last meeting. Sports and performance nutrition, acting workshop and grade 9 units 2 and 3, math enrichment grades 4, 5, and 6, grades 7 and 8 chorus, grade 8 acting for theater, grade 8 musical theater, grades 9 through 12 theory and composition, grade 3 social studies, Latin 2, American Sign Language 2. Can I get a motion? So moved. Stephen, seconded by Mary Ann. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right,
Kathy.
no, that's,
Sorry.
I don't know.
But. Okay, any discussion on the adoption of those units?
Yeah.
Okay,
So, first, I want to say that I have some issues with the ELA grade 9 unit 3. And so I would like to ask, if we can separate the motion to change the motion to separate that part out. Because I have no problem with the rest of the curriculum unit overviews. And then, So I don't know if you want to
I
have
don't
a
even see that.
discussion.
Yeah, I'm not
I
seeing
don't
that.
see the LA in there.
It says grade 9 units.
Yeah, it doesn't say, it says grade 9,
Oh,
units
grade.
2 and 3, but it's grade.
It doesn't say
9
LA.
ELA. It
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
Theory and composition.
It's in the packet and
Yeah.
it's titled grade 9 ELA.
It's just the ELA.
Right, I know, but it wasn't on here, so.
So I mean, we can have my comments and discussion first, and then you can consider if we want to amend the motion. Want to do it that way?
Well, let me first ask, I'm sorry, I'm still not seeing it after a couple people were talking at once.
Sorry.
Is it included already or is it
It
not on
is.
here?
It is after acting workshop, it says and grade 9 units 2 and 3. And in
Oh,
your packet, it's labeled, it's under ELA, it says acting workshop and then grade 9 units 2 and 3.
And it's really only unit 3 that you have an issue with, so grade 9, unit 2, your
Fine.
motion would be fine with leaving that in.
And probably should have the LA.
Well, whatever, I mean, you can amend the motion to however you want.
Yeah.
Essentially, so I will just give a brief overview of what my objections are.
Okay.
So in asking us to approve the curriculum unit, there were some examples given of books that would be used in unit 3 through grade 9 in the book club section of that unit, where the students would choose the books that one of the books to form a book club and review with their colleagues. So I am unfamiliar with most of the books, a couple of them I have read. And so I did some research on them. And my problem is that I don't think that there is a great enough breadth of choice. It seems that it has been, the subject matter is very specific and repetitive. So the first book is All American Boys as an example, and this, I went on the Goodreads to see what it was about. 2 teen boys handle racism and police brutality in their community. And I did note that it happens to be on like that list of banned books that people object to because of the quote unquote inclusion of anti-police messages, alcohol, drug usage, and profanity. It discusses racial bias and equity. So then I looked at the next book, and the next book is The Hate U Give. And although I've heard of it, I didn't read it myself. And so the subject matter of this one is about a white police officer that shoots and kills a Black African-American boy or teen. And it's about the girl who's a community member. So the next book is, so that's 2 that I thought like, well, they're kind of focusing there on the racial problems and really talking about police brutality versus Black teenage victims. And I thought 2 books out of like the 8 or whatever that were included in the examples. And I know there are more that to choose from, but these are the ones that were highlighted. So then the next book is Wolf Hollow. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with these books, if you've read them, if you did research on them, but I, again, was unfamiliar with this book. And I know it discusses bullying. It's considered a historical fiction set during World War II. And the review that I read on Goodreads was that it was graphic, it was disturbing, it was grim. It includes some animal torture and killing. There is no redemption, there's no comeuppance for lying, there's betrayal without redemption, accusations without exoneration, and it was a very dark novel. So then the next book is called Speak, and that is about a freshman girl who is raped. Then the next book is The Lovely Bones, which I actually have read, and this is a story that is told from the perspective of a dead girl who was raped and murdered. So okay, well, there's 2 now that are subject matter of female rape and murder. Then the next book is called Monster, and it's about a 16-year-old Black male in jail accused of being an accomplice in a robbery that ends in murder. Then there's Every Day, and this is kind of a strange, a unique, I should say, story. I was so when I read the description, I didn't really understand it, so I actually downloaded it and read like half of it. So it's about a person who is non-gender. And they live their life by every day, they jump into a new 16-year-old's body. So one day they could be a boy, the next day they could be a girl in different towns, whatever, and I personally don't have a problem with the book. I thought it was a very, unique book, but I could see how, because of the way that it's written and it really gives you the sense of this person who they call A has no gender. And so it could be construed as promoting or about sort of gender fluidness. And I mean, it's kind of a love story as well. It's complicated. But anyway, it is unique, and it is at least a different theme than the rest of them. And then there's, of course, To Kill a Mockingbird, which, is about someone accused of rape and murder. And then Lord of the Flies, and everyone's probably familiar with that. So I just felt like the focus of the subjects of these particular novels that were highlighted to be in our curriculum, I felt like we can do better. I know they're supposed to be, thought-provoking and, you want them to have discussions and, really dig deep. But I think certain subjects can be triggering, like, rape, murder, and animal torture and killing. I think that we can find, of all the books out there that are, Newbery Medal winners, etc., that we can find more diverse subject matter than just like rape and murder and white police brutality and some
Racism.
dark subject matter.
I also read
No,
those
you're-
reviews. And I feel exactly the same way. I think it's overkill. I think, I don't believe in banning books, but I think that at that age, there are so many wonderful masterpieces, so many wonderful books that we could bring in and have the kids, classics. I just don't, I had a hard time with it too. And I have excerpts from the books. And
I was just gonna say, when you say so many wonderful books, I'm gonna put those books in with that group. I think that it's so important to understand two things. That this is there's choice. And so if something is triggering, oftentimes authors and teachers, especially teachers, will allow children to have some understanding of what they're embarking on. I don't think you're gonna find a book 9th grade and up that fits their lexile, but also just fits their developmental stage that doesn't have some of those themes in some way. People could say Bambi has that, Bambi's, every Disney story out there has that. Hansel and Gretel has
they have
underlying.
happy endings.
Well, but I
They
think
actually don't, the kids get cooked in the oven, but my point is,
Maybe I didn't get that out of that.
for Hansel and Gretel.
anyway,
My point is that those themes are present in so many of the books, and I think that the other piece of it is that we're really encouraging kids to have an opportunity for windows and mirrors when it comes to reading, that they can see themselves in many of the characters or in a storyline, and then there's then that's your mirror piece, but then there's a window into a world that they have no clue about. And this is their opportunity to learn about the rest of what's happening in the world that might be not what happening in Madison. So I think it's important for our kids to have opportunities to have both a window and a mirror when it comes to being a reader.
and I'm not saying at all to ban the books. I'm certain they're available in the school library and in our town public library. Absolutely, but there are certain things, that to consider about student choice as well. When I think, because I have child in the system, they don't always pick a book based on the fact that they want to read that book. They sometimes pick the group that they want to be with, and then the book that group already has. And then whether or not that subject matter is something that their parents would agree that they should be reading as part of their curriculum versus personal reading on the side because it's something that they want to pursue or learn about or are interested in or whatever. And so I don't have a problem with these books being available or having students choose them, but I do think that, you know, parents look to the teachers, they look to the librarians, and they look to the board for assuming that we are going to guide their kids in appropriate choices. And I'm not saying that these books can't be included, but I think in the selection that we were given to look at as examples for this particular case, you know, 3 of them were about rape and rape murder, and 2 of them were about police brutality and racism. And I just feel like, are those the only topics that we want our kids to read about? And so, and I think there's also a big difference in having a book that, you know, is about like, oh, this person was wrongly accused of rape and murder versus let's give a deep description of the rape that happened and how they were murdered and the torture of an animal. Like that is different. And I think there are levels of acceptance with books like that.
I'd like to say, I think the examples given are unbalanced, and we would do better to broaden the selection.
It also
So,
says,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
include but not limited to.
Right, so the examples,
examples-
Examples are a little.
And maybe there was a
were there.
point of highlighting books that, so that parents are aware that some of the content, the choices that your child has might be these. Because I imagine if we didn't include some of those topics that you find more concerning. And parents are like, you didn't ever tell me my kid was gonna read The Hate U Give, and so it's very clear to me, these are the choices, and there are many other choices as well, but just like heads up to the folks who actually look at our curricula that these are possibilities, right?
Yeah,
Or maybe
I would like to ask,
you could write
yeah,
it in a different way then.
well, I would like to ask Gail, for her comments, but also, it sounds to me like that particular unit is either about empathy, compassion, it's some kind of, you know, like Kathy said, seeing the world through a different set of eyes than your own. But I'd like to toss to Gail to kind of explain
Thank you.
why and how this is the case.
So I think it's important to also revisit the unit before, which was the unit prior to this was To Kill a Mockingbird was the context. So we shifted to Just Mercy based on the ability for our students to relate to the content and based on the deep history of To Kill a Mockingbird. So the first unit, that unit 2 is the theme is what it means to fight for what's right, to really delve deeply into character and character analysis, character point of view. The unit that's under discussion this evening is actually a unit that was adopted in 2019 and has been listing the exact same titles in the overview since 2019 as book club choices, with the exception of we used to have so All American Boys, The Hate U Give, Wolf Hollow, Speak, The Lovely Bones, Monster, Everyday, all are the same. We replaced Staying Fat with To Kill a Mockingbird and The Body of Christopher Creed with The Lord of the Flies. One of the things that this unit does and that the standards ask us to do is one of the knowledge pieces that we have is about perspective. And this is available on the website. It's all been very publicly facing. Perspective is shaped by examining what characters know and don't know, whether or not the narrator is reliable or unreliable, and considering how one event may have many interpretations. So this, of course, is some of the key vocabulary is perspective, point of view, unreliable narrator, conflict, empathy, theme, and critical scene. It is, you are correct that we do try to make it very transparent. Anything that could be triggering or controversial, we try to put in the overview. So it's very publicly facing, which is why we had it there in 2019. Teachers do a great job of introducing book clubs and saying, here's the overview of this book. If this is something that seems like it'd be triggering for you, this may not be your best selection. And there are other titles as well, but yes, in fact, we do put titles that we feel are really important and relevant to be transparent in those overviews.
Are all the titles listed on the website or just these with plus examples?
These are just examples. There are other titles, but these are ones that definitely tie into the work that the unit is doing. So we certainly want people to know that those are titles that.
But
students
not all,
can
but not all the titles are listed on the website.
No,
No,
we don't
because-
list every title of every book that we study.
All right.
What I think is-
Sorry, Steve.
He's already talked.
But how would parents know that some of these are controversial?
They would look it up. I mean, there's no filter that we have of look up this book or no, but
So we're listing them on the website because they're potentially controversial. In the interest of transparency,
If
but
they're-
parents wouldn't really know that.
if they're core materials or materials that we talk about are important to the work of the unit, then we always list it. So any shared read like Just Mercy or To Kill a Mockingbird, we would put that as a shared book experience. We absolutely would put that. When it includes book club titles, there's lots of book clubs that we run. Some of which are have titles that might provoke different levels of interest than others. But they're not an extensive list of every book that kids have. Yeah, that's true.
But so
Sorry, Steve.
you're doing that so that so the parents would look these books up
It's
or
it's
they.
for transparency, but also if you hit the button on the unit up next to the overview, it goes into what the standards
Right,
are
like
with the
you said,
unit,
with the
what the
standards.
understandings are.
Right, but if a parent just saw that and then just did like I did and looked up.
If they didn't hit the button, then they
They
wouldn't
would
be
just
able
look
to
up
see the
and see
deeper.
these reviews, which are very dark and dreary and awful. I mean, if you didn't read the whole, I didn't read the book, I just read what
That's
each one
that's the
stands for.
expectation.
So if a parent did that, that's all, you know, I
Yeah, I think it's all
did you
about,
put a warning label and say, look, this is
well, then you're
just.
Have it on
you're looking at which website do you get warning labels to and which ones,
Right.
which reviews do you.
And it's.
No, just
those
in
are
general to the
reviews.
parents when they look. at it.
But those are reviews. I can write a review.
No, I
have written a
understand,
review.
I understand.
There are people all over the world that can write a review
Right.
and it doesn't make it so.
But a couple of them were banned. Not that I believe in banning, but they were banned. I don't know.
Well, then ban away, but we're.
These are book club choices, and the key word is choice.
Right.
Now, you know, Gail addressed what I think is an important point. You know, and to Diane's point. Not all of these books would be the right selection for every student. Consequently, it's really important that the faculty, as they're introducing the book club choices, articulate. This is area that has some sensitivity and is provocative in these areas. It may or may not be for you. Here are other choices. You know, the idea being that students can choose books that they feel like raises issues that are important to them, that they want to be able to explore.
And I can tell you that if they do start the book, and I'm saying this from experience, I have 3 daughters that went through the school system as well. 3 daughters, and they can at some point say, I'm finding this I'm having a hard time with this book, and the teacher is fine with, that's fine, let's go ahead and have you switch out. I have enough faith in our kids to know that if they're not just choosing for social reasons. And if they are, that's another thing that a teacher addresses throughout her time as a teacher who provides these books. She's going to support kids in making choices. Teachers have conversations with kids individually and within groups. That's what book clubs are. And so they have an opportunity to say, you know, and this is also a growing opportunity for kids, especially as freshmen, that we don't choosing a book club just because your friends are all in it doesn't always turn out to be the best book club for you. This is how kids learn how to choose books. This is how kids learn how to have a readerly life. And that is the point of teachers providing lots of options and letting students and having the faith that students will make decisions based on what is best for them and not for what's best for their friend or their parents or their neighbor or their brother or sister, but what is best for them. And that is part of growing up.
Surprise, I can agree with you, that's well said. But I do have but my concern is more that the examples given are unbalanced. And so is the purpose of listing those examples to provide transparency for potentially disturbing things, or is it a representative sample? And so I would just say it's a little, and so you have the opt-in phenomenon,
Yeah,
right? You just
I got it.
tend to choose what's listed, even though there are other choices. So my point is maybe we should broaden the selection and list online.
Yeah, and show, Gail, and I think that I see you nodding your head, and I think you agree. It's nice to be able to have a little, like Diane is saying, a little more breadth. It feels, maybe just having just a few titles as examples. But again, it does go back to that standard. Right, but it goes back to the standard, and I get it that not everybody is gonna click on that standard, but it is a time when I know, having gone to open houses and back to school night, the teachers explain all that. They pull it up on, they show you, this is what we'll be studying in this unit. This is what we're going to be talking about, and I think that is their opportunity to.
But I think, based upon representative samples of parents who have come to Board of Ed meetings, I do feel like our parents want to be, I don't want to say spoon-fed, but I mean, a little more helped in accessing or saying like, hey, just so you know, your ninth grader is going to be doing, book club. If you go to our website, you'll see a representative sample of books that they can choose. And if you have any concerns or questions, you can talk to your child's teacher or whatever, talk to your child about good choices for them.
Yeah.
And that way parents don't feel like they're being blindsided or circumvented or that it's not transparent. I think that's really important because I know, having been a parent there, when you do the open house, you don't always get to do everything in the slideshow presentation. They don't always get to everything that they wanted to tell you. And you might not have that knowledge that, and no one, I think most people don't have a lot of time on their hands. They're like, let me peruse the Madison Public Schools website and see all the things I can click on that pertain to my student. I think they need a little more like, hey, it's right here if you want to see it, if you're concerned, if you want to know.
And I can,
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I can speak from personal experience, again, back to my daughters. Their own experiences that they've had in their lives, and at the time when they would have choices. It is reaching out to the teacher on an individual basis and saying, just a heads up, here's a situation, I'd like to just, how are things, I'm not saying don't read that book, but I want you to be aware that my child, might need a little support around this. Or I'm hearing from her that she's feeling a little anxious around whatever. There has never been a time that I haven't gotten more information or been invited in to look at the book club titles, there's just such an open door policy in all the schools.
I know, but not every kid is gonna be like your.
I was just gonna say that, you're
Three
talking about
daughters,
13,
You're
14,
gonna have
15
a
year olds.
grandson who's in ninth grade, who's gonna hear maybe, well, this book is like this. And even though the teacher might say, this might not be for you, Michael, and he'll go, but this book is something. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
and I agree, I totally agree. That kids, look, they are on this all the time, who the heck knows what they're watching, and I'm sure it's a lot worse than these books. But we are in control of that. The teachers are, we're supposed to be guiding them and moving them along. And we definitely need, I feel, a better list than that.
Or more.
We need to wrap this up a little bit, but I would like to say that I'm pleased that we're not having a discussion about banning books. I will start with that. Secondly, I would say that theoretically, I don't have a problem with expanding the list, but practically speaking, I wanted to just ask Gail, what the practical implication is of that is. Will the teachers have knowledge of other books? And will they, I assume they have to read each book and learn it, and there's like some teaching notes that they go through.
The
So-
English department is one of the departments that I go up to before vacation and I pull from their stack of what they're reading. For new experiences, new book clubs, so I can assure you they have lots of books that they are aware of. In terms of process, I think that's what you're asking, like what would the impact be? I would go back to the department with this feedback. And they would revisit the points that were made and we would come back to curriculum committee. In that event.
I also think you had said something that really kind of sparked my thinking, Seth, and that is, teachers aren't teaching the book. They're offering,
Yeah.
right, they're offering opportunities for kids to read and have insightful conversation led by questions or facilitating. And so I think it's important that people don't feel like, oh, we're reading The Hate U Give and we're gonna teach you about the content that's in this book that, or gender issues, or they're not teaching them.
Thanks for clarifying, because
Yeah.
I didn't state it artfully,
But I
but
think
yeah.
words matter,
Yeah,
and I want
exactly.
that to be very clear, that they're not reading a book and then. 'Cause
they're not imparting wisdom of the book on the kids.
Because the
They're
old
facilitating
days,
the
when we
kids'
went to
own
school,
learning.
there was a little
Yeah,
of that,
yeah.
right? It's like, this is what this book means. And it's really more about, what do you think the book means?
But
Like,
the-
we heard
yeah.
that tonight, how Catherine was saying, kids are, at the science table, and the teacher isn't saying, well, you're gonna do this and this and this. She's saying, what do you think you should do? That way of being more inquiry based and facilitating support around reading a book is really the way that that our teachers
But the nature of my question was really, the basic assumption is that in order to facilitate, the teacher probably must have read the book and be familiar with the material.
it isn't absolutely, sure they
Probably
have,
makes sense,
and
yeah.
they probably are interested in knowing, of course, but it isn't the most necessary thing for a teacher to have read every book on every shelf.
Yeah, no, I agree with
It
that,
isn't.
but I mean, the ones that are available for that
It
meeting.
really makes a big difference when you read a book.
It certainly does.
All right, so
It certainly
where,
does.
okay, so if you feel
So
that
maybe you wanna change the motion.
change the
So-
motion, do you feel like you have a procedure you can go back and discuss this as you just
I
mentioned?
always have received.
Yeah, of course you do.
But shouldn't we look
Procedure
at
rich.
all of them then? I mean, if it's not just this one, why would we just do this one?
This one seems to have had particular,
this
because of the,
I'm just saying that because this was a
Nature.
representative sample, I thought of the examples for our curriculum, that I felt it was not a good breadth of different ideas and subject matters. It seemed very focused on just a couple, and that concerned me because I don't want our district or our parents to think that our district is focusing only on certain things when that is not the point of it. And if it's not the point of it, then let's don't make it look like it's the point.
Right.
yeah,
So,
that's a valid.
Well, they're
concern.
focusing on that standard and that.
which is
and-
great,
And getting,
Yeah.
and getting maybe a deeper understanding around what that.
right? But so like, I'm not on curriculum, I don't have anything to do with the writing of curriculum.
Right.
And I look at this list and I'm like, well, look at this subject matter, what is going on here?
We don't want it to be misleading lightning rod for misunderstanding.
Right,
Right, we want, I think if you broaden the sample, it gives a better representation, that's all. You don't want the hot button right up there for everybody.
Yeah.
Right there.
so if, who made the motion?
So the motion was made by Steve and seconded by Kathy,
So
and
if Steve can amend his motion to just remove the grade 9 unit 3, we can go forward with the amended motion and vote on it, and then the unit 2 would go back to Gail and then curriculum and then come back.
would you accept a friendly motion?
I would accept that, yeah.
We don't need
That's the
another
easiest way to do it.
Okay.
All right, so Stephen, who made the motion, is accepting a friendly motion to alter the
Okay.
wording of grade 9 units 2 and 3 to
Unit
say
2 can
instead
stay, just
grade
three.
9 ELA unit 2,
Great.
just 2. No,
Yeah.
leaving 2.
Leaving
Excising
three
three.
out.
So then we're just taking out the word and 3.
Right.
And then Gail will lead a curriculum-based review of this to try and find a way to expand the list.
We don't need a
appropriately.
second for a friendly amendment.
I
Friendly second.
don't think we do, but I will just ask Kathy, would you second that?
A friendly second.
You
You're very friendly today.
I can't make it work.
Very friendly.
That's
Okay,
friendly.
so with a smile too. All right, let me reread the motion that was agreed to, it was moved by Steve and seconded by Kathy. Motion to adopt the following curriculum units: sports and performance nutrition, acting workshop and grade 9 ELA unit 2, math enrichment grades 4, 5, and 6, grades 7/8 chorus, grade 8 acting for theater, grade 8 musical theater, grades 9 through 12 theory and composition, grade 3 social studies, Latin 2, and American Sign Language 2. Any further questions on what we're voting on, Steve?
There's nothing in that states provision that section will be looked at and expanded. It appears that it's just being dropped.
Well, we had discussion on the record and Gail committed to doing that, so, right?
Yeah, my,
You didn't commit to any specific result, but you committed to bring it back for a curriculum review. Yeah, right, and I think we all kind of thought that was good enough.
And I'd like to say the rest, everything was well written. The
I love the math.
portrait of the
enrichment.
graduate,
Loved it.
Yeah, it was.
passages
Love the
are
math
great,
enrichment,
everything
right.
was, you know, the great addition.
Are you, are you okay with that, or do you think we need to strengthen that? Something,
It's all right.
you okay? All right, any other questions? Everyone clear on what we're voting on? I think we had enough discussion. I'm gonna call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye as amended.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Action item 11. Motion to approve the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2025 Board of Education Budget Workshop.
So moved. Second.
Kathy, seconded, again,
Very fast.
seconded by Diane. Any recommended edits to that? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Action item 12. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2025 Board of Education special meeting.
So moved.
Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second them.
Emily? Any discussion, recommended edits or anything? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Any requests for future agenda items? Since Gail is here, I'm starting with Craig.
Let's see.
Yeah. I think we're all out of suggestions. Aren't any left on the.
He's busy for the rest of the year.
And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will.
Diane,
That's for the stuff.
seconded by, I'm gonna give this one to Mary Ann. Did you second that?
Yes, I
Yeah, okay.
did. I think I just said it's, I said, my husband's starting dinner.
To close up shop at 6:45. All in favor, aye?
Aye.